What up, though, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Chopping It Up with Uncle Sean, the podcast. I am your humble host, Uncle Sean, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here once again. First thing I want to do is I want to start with a black fact. In 1864, a brother by the name of John W. Reed invented the rolling pin. John W. Reed invented the rolling pin in 1864, and people have been rolling up dough and getting bopped over the head ever since then. All right. Listen. Every now and then, as an adult, you have to reevaluate yourself. You have to reevaluate your life decisions, the way that you're living, the things that you do. As an adult, you have to just take accountability for yourself. And if you lie to yourself, then you will never tell the truth to anybody else, and you'll never live in truth. Now, me personally, I know my weaknesses. You know, I was thinking today, I said, man, I like food too much. I do. I try to only eat once a day now, but that one meal, hey, I try to walk 10,000 steps a day. I have, some minor health issues or whatever that I deal with, but I know my weaknesses. I know what my weakness is. My weakness is not drugs or dope or nothing like that. My weakness is food, a hamburger, some chicken wings. That's my weakness. There have been times in my past when I've had to reevaluate myself. I've had to kind of go into myself, be by myself, and just decide which direction I'm gonna go from here. And I think most adults, if you're an intelligent, critical thinking adult who also likes to take some responsibility for yourself and your life and your decisions, you will take this, this inside introspective view of yourself. Sometimes people never look at themselves. They never do anything wrong. Every relationship that has failed, it was somebody else's fault. Every time they got fired from a job, they didn't do anything wrong. It was somebody picking on them. The boss was hating on them. It was racism. It was this, it was that, but they didn't do anything wrong. There are people who are never wrong, and they refuse to look at themselves as having done anything wrong or anything out of pocket or even said anything wrong. And they will not apologize or anything. Just complete narcissists. And I hate to use that word because it's so overused nowadays. Certain words are just overused, toxic and narcissist and several other words. And it's like, people just say the words and they don't even know what they mean a lot of times. You know, me myself, and I see I like to speak from experience when I can, and I don't mind talking about myself in the way that I am. You know, I feel like a man should live by code. And there should be boundaries that he sets of things that he will and won't do. And once you set those principles, you don't break your principles for nothing or nobody. If you can't stand on what you believe, then you're really not a man. And that's just what it is. You know, your word is supposed to be your bond. You know, what your reputation as a man is usually based around your word. You know, it can be based on other things. You know, if you are a person who produces violence, that could be a reputation. If you're a person who's got sticky fingers and every time you come around something end up missing, that could be a reputation that you have. And let me tell you something about a thief. I hate a thief. I hate a thief worse than anything else. Like, I would rather hang around a person who has unalived somebody than a thief. As long as the unaliver is, I'm relatively sure that they're not going to do me any harm, because you don't never know what people do stuff for. I mean, I'm not saying that I would hang around an unaliver, but I'm just saying a thief is going to steal. They can't help it. I know people who steal, and you can't let them in your house. You can't let them in your car. You can't take your eye off of them. Because they say the hand is quicker than the eye, and I believe it is. And a person who steals, that's all they thinking about. So while you're going about your day having a good time or whatever, this person is trying to figure out how to take something. I've had my house broken into. Worst feeling in the world. No, you know, I'm not going to say there's no worse violation, because you can be violated worse than your house get broken into. I do know that. You know. But you talking about feeling violated? Man. And if you've ever had somebody who you've invited into your home steal from you, that right there will make you want to hurt somebody. I remember back in the day, called myself having a little basement studio, had a couple of roommates that were no good. I'll go into that too about, you know, boy, I tell you, you learn some lessons in life. But you have people in your house, you know, and sometimes they bring people with them, and then something ends up missing, and now you're accusing everybody. And I lost a couple of good friends behind something like that, where I found out who the real thief was. But I had questions. I didn't accuse anybody, I don't per se, but asking someone about something that was stolen is just like accusing them, I guess, because it hurts people's feelings and it makes people not want to come back over there, especially when they're not a thief. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do it. Being questioned about it, you know, I ended up losing a couple of cool friends behind, you know, a thief allegation. because I hate a thief. And looking back, I probably did talk a little aggressive or question a little accusingly, because I was angry, you know. And when I found out who did it, it was one of my roommates, this little bitch, this little thieving 88 finger having bitch that he worked with, who got fired from her job, from their job for stealing. And I used to feel sorry for this little whore. And I used to actually give her food and help her out a little bit. Because I felt sorry for her because she fucked her life up already and had like 5 or 6 kids by 8 different dudes. But I was like, well, she's trying to work or whatever, I felt, and I don't know, and this motherfucker was, anyway, stop fucking with all them people. None of them I don't fuck with no more. Yeah. But somebody to come in your house that was invited in to steal, to me, that's the biggest insult. And if a hand got chopped off or something, it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen to him. Yeah. That wouldn't be the worst thing to happen to him. I hate a thief. I'm talking about a person who comes in the guise of a friend or a guest and takes something from you, steals, with the intention of stealing your shit, taking it and keeping it. Not your homeboy that came over and borrowed one of your cassette tapes without asking. And he, you was gonna get it back. But he didn't ask. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about a filthy, no good, grubby hand thief. Nothing worse. A thief followed closely by a liar. And they usually go hand in hand. Not all the time, but, because there's some liars that don't steal. But a lot of times, if you steal, you're going to have to lie. Because somebody going to ask you, did you take this or that? No, I didn't do it. Yes, you did. And then when you get your ass whooped, or worse, the person who does that to you, they're wrong. No. Let me tell you something. Nowadays, for me to let you into my house, pretty much you got to be a family member or somebody who I've thoroughly vetted through the years. Because I'm not worried about so much about somebody stealing. I'm worried about this badass energy that you might bring into my home. I'm worried about the demon that you might have ride your back and you walk into my house and leave the motherfucker there and disturb my peace. I believe in that. You can't just let any old motherfucker come in your house. Because you don't know where they just came from. They could have just came from unaliving somebody or stealing and come over to your house. No, don't come on my house. Nope. I don't want you. I don't need no company. I'm perfectly fine sitting there, me and my lady, or by myself, whatever. Because, and I can't stand for somebody that, like, okay, you're if you're invited to somebody's home and you want to bring somebody else, you need to tell them and not be on the way with them. No, 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 no. If I invited you 3 days or a week ago and you're going to bring that person, you need to let me know at least 2 days in advance because I got some questions I want to ask before they come. If it's somebody I don't already know, and if I tell you no, you can't bring them, don't get mad. But if you do, you can not come too. I don't play that shit. I don't play that shit because I know I've seen a demon go up through a house. And man, let me tell you, I've seen it. I've seen the angel of Eft with a D in the front come up through because the person whose house it was had open house and all kinds of people would come in and out, in and out, and in and out. And a lot of them was into a lot of different things. But at the time, this person was doing what they had to do. It was a survival thing for them. So I understood, but I also understand what I was dealing with. And we all seen it one night. We seen what happened. And I've had a close friend of mine tell me about how him and his wife had just started arguing and fighting all the time. And he was like, man, I had the spirit of Jezebel in my house. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Y'all, you can believe or not believe in it, but there are spirits and demons and bad shit that people can bring in on them from out in them streets into your house. Yep. I believe that. And I'm sure a lot of people do, If you don't, that's fine, but it is what it is. And regardless to whether you believe that or not, I think we can all agree you can't just have anybody walking in and out your house, coming up in there, shit. To me, it is an honor to be invited to somebody's home. That's the way I feel. You got people who will try to invite themselves to your house. No. See, you're going to get mad at me. But when somebody invites me over, I know how to act. And I just didn't come from doing a armed robbery or any a crime or something immoral or evil. I wasn't involved in none of that. So, and when you go over to people's house, and I'm not saying, family members or whatever, but if you're not one of my everyday, and I ain't got no everyday hanging out partner. So if I come over to your house, I don't come over there that often. When I come over, I'm bringing something with me. And I'm bringing something. If you have a wife or a girlfriend or whoever's going to be there, I'm going to bring something for the lady of the house, and I'm going to bring something for the man of the house. Because to me, that's just about having class. It ain't about money or flexing or nothing like that, because it doesn't have to be anything expensive. How much does a a little bottle of wine costs, and you're just going over your homeboy house anyway. You're not gonna have you're not gonna have a beer, or you're not gonna have a sip of something. You know, I had a homeboy that used to like, cigars, and at the time I wasn't smoking cigars, but I would stop at the cigar store on the way over and grab him up a nice stogie, and he appreciated it. And I believe I was welcome. You know, some people don't know etiquette. Grown ass people don't have no manners. Don't, me, I'm a very polite person because I was raised by good parents and I was taught to be polite as long as you're respectful to me. I call people younger than me sir and ma'am. I just do it out of habit. Sometimes I catch myself, when it's the mother, the white folks, sometimes I feel, but I do it, and it ain't no big deal or nothing. That's just the way I talk. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. And a lot of times, because I'm polite, I get good results from that. If you really want to see me being polite, go out to eat with me, because I am never going to be nicer than the person I am bringing my food. Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Because I've worked in restaurants and I know that if you piss off that waiter or that waitress and you're rude to them, because restaurants are kind of a little culture. 9 times out of 10, that waiter or waitress is fucking the cook. Or the cook is fucking the waitress, or the waiter's fucking one of the other waitresses. These people are connected. And if you are rude to this waitress, she's gonna go back there and get your food, and you might get some seasoning on your shit that you didn't really want. Yeah. I worked at restaurants. I have seen it happen. I wasn't the cook. I was the dishwasher. And I've been a manager. So I never seasoned anybody's food, but I saw it. I saw it happen. And if you're the type of person who goes out to restaurants and bullies and talks rude to the server, I guarantee you've had you probably had a maxi pad rubbed over your shit. You've definitely had some saliva. You may have had a little pee pee. You may have had a boo boo finger. You may have had your shit rubbed across the filthy ass floor. You may have had it rubbed down off in the crotch area. I've seen it. I'm very polite to anybody who's handling my food. If I have to get out of pocket with somebody handling my food, I'm not eating or buying the food. That's just me. I remember back in the day, here in Michigan, we had the first mall called Northland Mall. It is now closed. But me and my homeboy, we used to catch the bus out there on a Saturday and hang out at the mall, get our little allowance or whatever. And well, he got allowance. I had to work for my shit. But we would go out there. And one day we was at Kirby, Coney Island. And we're standing in line waiting to order. And it was an open kitchen. And there's this little Arab, little fat fuck in there. And he's down the back of his pants just going. Just going. I'm talking about he digging so hard, he looking up at the ceiling. You know it's, ooh. And then started back fixing food. Me and my homeboy looked at each other. We got out of line. Even as teenagers, we knew we didn't want none of that. It wasn't no argument to be had. It was nothing else to be said. Thank God we saw him. Because he was the one who was going to fix our Coney dogs. Yeah. He was the one that was going to fix our Coney dogs. Little nasty motherfucker. You know. But no, I'm a very polite person when I'm out. You know, listen, I've seen people on their jobs getting bullied by customers. To me, that's some hoe shit. You know this person is working on their job and you in here talking to them any old kind of way because you know that they can't get back at you the way that they want to without jeopardizing their job, you know, and this person might need their job. You know, every now and then you run into somebody who be like, fuck it. You know, you don't want that. You keep on poking the bear, messing with folks and being rude and obnoxious. And sooner or later, you're going to walk up into Waffle House or Popeye's Chicken and they're going to beat the brakes off you. Because them employees are undefeated. If you look on some of these little TikTok videos and scoops and YouTube, Popeyes and Waffle House, they don't play. Now, we ain't got no Waffle House here in Michigan, but we got Popeyes. Popeyes employees beat the brakes off folks. They beat the shit out you. They all come from back there. They gonna jump on your ass too. There ain't gonna be no head up. And you think you're gonna get a what they call it a fade. You gonna get a square fade? No. You gonna start that shit. You might start off fighting one person. They gonna come back there. They gonna jump on your ass and whoop you. The Waffle House employees, I've seen a lot of videos. They get to throwing shit, hot fries and grease, jumping across the counter on your ass, coming down on you with Dusty Rhodes elbows and shit. Y'all better leave folks alone and learn how to be polite. And you know, if the person where you're shopping at, spending your money, if they're rude, you got a couple of different options. You can get rude back with them. What's that gonna get you? I mean, it might make you feel good, so you might do that. B, you can ask for a manager or a supervisor or owner and report them. I don't know how that's gonna go. Could go either way. Or C, you can just turn your ass around, put your money back in your pocket, and walk out the door. I always think that's a great idea. I always think it's a great idea to take my money and walk the hell out and go somewhere else. But the first person that you need to check is you need to check yourself. If you're a nasty attitude person, rude, if you're shiftless, if you just a generally nasty person, you need to think about how you treat people and why are you always getting into it with people? Why is it that you in an argument or some kind of dispute every other day? And it's always somebody else that did it. It's their fault. They was doing this and they was doing that. What did you do? I ain't do nothing. You a lie. You always into it with somebody. People just don't look at you and be like, let's go start some shit with them. I don't think you got that bad of luck, Slap Rock. No. Sometimes what you need to do is sit at your house by yourself for about a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes, and just be by yourself and just think. Think about all the things that are good and bad in your life, and what you did to cause it, whether it was good or bad. And where do you want to be? Where would you like to be this time next year or in 5 years? See, when you start looking down the line, then you stop looking right here and be like, oh, I'm going to do this today and I ain't going to worry about tomorrow. You know? Now, I'm not saying that people should count their chickens before they hatch. But I do feel like you need to evaluate and look down the line and see where you're headed, what you're doing, and how this is going to turn out for you if you keep on your current path. This has been another episode of Chopping It Up with Uncle Sean. And if I said anything to entertain you or anything to make you think, please do me a favor and hit the like button, share and subscribe to my channel. Follow a brother. You know what I'm saying? It don't cost nothing. Peace.